Hi, this is Patrick Bahar, Senior Account Executive with ATI. And today I'll be providing a brief demo of two things. One is a sample IHSS IVR call so that you can get a good sense of what the end user experience is like in the most commonly used areas within our applications. And secondly, I'll provide a brief demo of the portal's web administration tool. I'll be supplementing this demo with additional information like user guides, links, and so on via a follow-up email. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me and I will provide additional information as needed. So let me start with a sample IVR call. Two things about this sample call before I launch it, before you hear it. We have masked the personally identifiable information, so things that you would normally hear like confirmation of a social security number and some of the touch tone beeps and boops will be not audible. You'll just hear a slight pause in between some of the prompts. So here is the sample IVR demo.
You have reached In-Home Supportive Services, IHSS Payroll Information Services. Please note that any recent changes to your payroll information may take 24 to 48 hours to be reflected. Please enter your Social Security number now and then press pound. You entered. Please enter your client's 7-digit recipient number, then press pound. You entered for provider
Finney, deprecate.
The last timesheet received was for the pay period
February 1st, 2016
to
February 15th, 2016
4
9
hours in the amount of
$62.88.
the check for this timesheet was cashed on
February 23rd, 2016.
If you're calling about a newer timesheet, it has not yet been processed. Please wait 5 business days from the day you submitted it to call back about this timesheet. To request a duplicate timesheet, press 1. To request written verification of your employment and/or income, press 2. To request a duplicate W-2 form for
2015
press 3. To request an amended W-2 form, press 4. To request a new W-4 form, press 5. For information on how to change your address, press 6. If you have not received your direct deposit, hang up and call 866-376-7066. If you have not received a paycheck that was issued more than 7 business days ago, press 0 to be transferred to a payroll specialist. To enter a new recipient number, press 7. To repeat.
So there is a very good example of IHSS IVR and some of the commonly requested information that providers will have. For a full list of our functionality, please refer to our RFP response. Moving on to web admin, StreamWrite Portals is a very intuitive, easy to use, web-based administration tool. And what we're looking at here is the login screen. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And the first thing that we'll be presented with is a welcome screen. On the left side, we'll have a navigation pane. And this is our development system. So there are a dozen or more customers in our development system for development projects right now. Due to my permissions, I have able to see 2 of them. My permissions are restricted because I just don't need to have the ability to get into every customer environment. And so similarly, we have a very granular permissions-based admin tool, and we're able to restrict or enable permissions for your staff in accordance with what their user privileges need to be. If this was San Francisco County's IVR, and if if you were running multiple applications, you would see those in the navigation pane. So you might see San Francisco County, then you might see IHSS, you might see Registrar of Voters, Treasurer Tax Collector, and so on. For the purposes of this demo, I've got a couple of courts, and I'm going to try and draw some ties to the IHSS application. First thing I'll point out is that these tabs will be consistent among our different customers. There is one additional tab that IHSS customers will get, and that's called a review tab, and I will show that as well. But quickly summarizing, we've got reports. So all of the reports on the system are accessible from this tab. Hours of operation. Holidays. You get to plug in all of your holidays for as far in advance as you would like. We've got system parameters, and I'll explain what those are. Then you've got announcements. We allow for a daily announcement, emergency announcement, that sort of thing. It's the first thing that, if it's enabled, it's the first thing that a caller will hear, or the first thing in the IWR that a web user will see. And then we've got some session information, which I'll explain, and that's very useful for troubleshooting purposes. These are our canned reports. We have a number of canned reports that are available here. These are built in XML using a report generation tool that we've created. And we can very easily create additional reports as needed without much trouble. So this is not a finite list here. I'll show you a couple of these reports. Really, the daily snapshot and the monthly snapshot are really going to, the main difference is the daily snapshot's going to compare over a 15-day period of time. Monthly snapshot might be over the course of, let's say, 6 months or a year, and it'll compare monthly summary information for each month during the period selected. We've got functional choices, language usage. This is useful for people that want to find out what language choices are callers selecting when they call into the IVR. And you have 6 languages, I believe, as proposed. So that might be very useful. We've got concurrent usage, which is used to determine whether the system is ever hitting peak capacity, where we may need to look at adding additional ports. And that might be, after a period of years, if the volume of calls increases dramatically for whatever reason, and we can identify when and during what hour the usage is peaking out. And then we've got menu selections, which is helpful to see what areas in the IVR menu are most often used, or what areas in the web interface are most often used. So I'll show you a couple of these reports. The daily snapshot, you can select a start date or an end date, and then the tool, depending on which one you select, the tool will either forward fill or backfill based on the date that you select, or the date inputted. So let's say we chose an end date of August 28th. You see that it automatically backfilled 15 days to August 13th. And if we go ahead and run that report, we'll get session information. So on a day-by-day basis, how many calls were IVR over that period? And it's total at the bottom. And then we also have a nice bar graph. Now this is for IVR sessions. Those were the only sessions on the development system where we were testing during this period of time. If there were web sessions, you would certainly see those totals as well. You would see number of web sessions per day with a total, and also web information in the chart. If there were transfers, you would see how many transfers, on what day those transfers happened. And that's useful to see, how much are users really needing to speak to a live person. Then we have average duration of calls, and this is a good metric just to get a sense of, how much time are callers spending in the system. that covers the report section. I'm going to move on to hours. This is a useful tool because your business hours may vary from day to day, and the IVR may handle calls differently if calls are coming in outside of business hours. So for example, if a caller is in the IVR and they want to transfer out to speak to someone and it's after business hours, we'll want to play a prompt, or we'll want to prohibit the ability to transfer that call because there's no one available to take the call at that time. So that's why we have business hours. We've got holidays. So you're able to create holidays as far into the future as you would like. To add holidays to the system, you simply type the name of the holiday, select the date, and click the Add Holiday button, and it'll be added to your system. And as you can see here, we've created a few already. Parameters are a very useful feature. Now, this is a traffic system, so the parameters for IHSS are going to be somewhat different. For example, we may have information on the number of days that we ask a provider to wait after they submit their time card before they call in to check the status of the payment. In the demo that you heard, we had it set at 7 days, and that may be something that you would want to tweak, just depending on the results that you're getting and how much time it takes to process and post into CMIPs and so on. Other parameters that you may want to change are target phone numbers or target extensions if you're making changes to the phone system, where the transfer destination for callers that transfer out, if that changes, or if your agency's phone number changes. We have parameters in this section for those sorts of things. And then we do have some for that are web related. So if we're posting the county's web URL on the web interface, or if we're providing a URL for directions, and let's say you move to a different building and you want to update that in the system, this is where you would do it. So these are commonly changed parameters. Again, we look forward to discussing what parameters you may feel needed in the system, and we'll definitely work with you on this. Announcements, another very convenient tool if you have, let's say, an emergency office closure for a power outage or a natural disaster, or let's say there was a parking garage renovation and you needed to instruct visitors to park in a different parking garage. You could put that announcement, record it, and it would be heard at the beginning of the IVR menu, or it would be visible at the beginning of the web interface. And then Sessions is a diagnostic and troubleshooting tool, and it allows us to really drill down into the activity on a given day or range of days. So if we pull a report here, we can see these are all IVR sessions. The date, the time, what was it IVR. If it was web, you would have web mixed in here as well. And if we select one of the sessions, we can drill down and see exactly what the caller was doing in the system. They reached the greeting, the main menu, they did a case lookup or time card lookup, and if there were errors, they would see those as well. So that is the session details report. One additional tab that will be available for IHSS users is called the Review tab. Now this tab is used for forms requests, and what we're doing here is we're creating a workflow so that requests for W-2 forms, amended W-2 forms, W-4 forms, those requests can all be captured by the web interface or the phone interface, and these can be queued up for your staff to process them. So what we'll see here is, now this is again is a different example, it's for traffic, but similar to this, you will have a list of the form requests with all of the pertinent information. The person that's processing these requests will go ahead and pull the forms, mail them out to the different users, and then they will go into the system and click processed for each one of those requests that he or she handled. And the reason why we do this is we want to have an audit trail. Let's say we had users that were complaining that they weren't getting their forms. You'd have the ability to kind of go back and find out what happened, and maybe it was a training issue or something else. So that is how we handle forms requests with our IHSS application. That concludes our demo for today. Again, I'll be following up with additional information via email, and feel free to contact me if you have any additional questions. Have a great day.